saving the best for last. That's not to say that Beethoven's Ninth Symphony is the most artistically perfectly orchestrated piece ever written, because it's not. There are many defects in the scoring that are constantly adjusted by conductors when they are realizing this piece with modern orchestras, mostly caused by Beethoven's deafness putting him a little bit out of touch with the progress that was being made in the instrument building of his time. So even though he was a master orchestrator, even though he was deaf, still he could not really actually hear the evolution that the instruments were going through. All that aside, though, this is just simply one of the greatest pieces of music ever written. The fact that it's an orchestral score makes it all the more meaningful for us as creative artists, composers, and orchestrators. This is just an amazing way to study the insides of one of the great expressions of art. Every movement, every section of this piece, every development, every episode, each of the variations in the chorale movement at the end, they're all unique. They all tell you something. They all teach you something as an orchestrator. And of course, Beethoven's whole attitude towards life, his attitude towards art, that is all present in the score. And I would say, he uses the words of the great poet Schiller, which has the most optimistic attitude about humanity. But I almost feel like he just makes Schiller into a puppet for his spirit, his just amazing ability to synthesize art and philosophy and emotion into one amazing, potent expression. This piece also has some personal ramifications for me. When I was about, 6 or 7, my father noticed that I was pretending to conduct this piece. I was sort of looking at a copy of the words and sort of waving my arms around to the beat. And, instead of just laughing at me, he actually got out the orchestral score. He happened to have a pocket score of it, and he put it in front of me and he said, well, why don't you read what the notes actually are? And I was just completely amazed at the fact that, the way that an orchestral score had looked. I had never even imagined that something could be so beautiful. And I started off by reading the words of the choral movement and following them along. And then after a while, I started to see how they interacted as chorus, in harmony, in counterpoint, in polyphony. And then I started to notice how all the orchestra worked together. And I would say that, that out of all of the things that have happened to me in my life, is probably one of the most significant things that ever caused me to be a composer. So, Dad, if you're out there watching this, I just want to say thanks very, very much. Thanks a whole hell of a lot. Okay? And so that's my list of 10 pieces. There are many, many more. I could just go on and on and on. I could list 100 for you right now, except I'm running out of time. So that's it. Everybody have a good holiday season, and there'll be more segments next year.